Hey, what's up, Bear Fam? Let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, fat. I got a really great acronym for this yesterday. I told you guys I wanted an acronym for fat in relation to the concept that fat is famine insurance. And I got a really good one from my friend Dr. Tom. And he said, famine assurance. Can you guess the T? Tissue. How good is that? I'm going to use that for decades to come. Famine assurance tissue. I love it because it's exactly what fat actually is on the body. Famine assurance tissue. The degree to which your body stores body fat is the degree to which it expects a famine coming up in the future, and it wants to protect you for that. The body really is always looking out for us all the time. So the reason why you can eat till you're full and you just you have natural hunger hormones and whatever it is, you just eat as much as you want and you get fat, whereas it seems like your cousin, that skinny bitch, can just eat as much as she wants and she doesn't put on a pound. The reason for that, if she isn't secretly crash dieting somewhere, the reason for that is because of a thing called your set point weight. Set point weight. And you will always come back to this if you try and lose fat through essentially famine. Because all you're doing is, the reason why you're going to bounce back is because of this principle. Fat is famine assurance tissue. And so when you go into a famine, when you go on a Weight Watchers program, a Jenny Craig program, when you do a long period of fasting, a whole bunch of crash dieting, severe caloric restriction, you will absolutely lose the weight. You will have a lovely before and after photo to show people. But essentially, you're no different to a bear that got obese during summer and autumn, and then during the winter, burnt off all the weight. But what happens when the bear stops hibernating and it comes out of winter? What does it do? Puts all the weight back on. Why? Because of its set point weight. So your set point weight is your body is going to manipulate your hormones. It's going to manipulate your hunger hormones to do a whole bunch of different things. It's going to manipulate your metabolism. It's going to manipulate your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activated thermogenesis. That's like your micro movements. That's even how fast you blink. It can add up to about 500 calories a day. That's about the size of like a decent sized meal, 500 calories. That's about 5 bananas that can add up to how fast you're blinking and just kind of twitching and moving, whether you sit at a chair and you bounce your knee. That's all your NEAT kind of stuff. And that affects your set point weight. Famine assurance tissue, that's what fat is. So when we understand that fat is essentially famine assurance tissue, what do we need to do if we want to lower that body weight set point? What do we need to do? We need to essentially do what we do with any other case that follows this same principle. And we need to start thinking about fat in terms of famine assurance tissue instead of how we currently think about fat, which is something like you don't exercise enough tissue, or you eat too much food tissue, or you can't control yourself tissue, or you just have like a crazy appetite tissue, or too much fast food tissue, which is partially true, and we'll talk about that. But what you really need to do is understand that it's famine assurance tissue. And so if you want to feel comfortable at a low body fat percentage where you can still eat as much as you want, because that's what everyone wants. Otherwise you have to tax your willpower. If you're having to count exactly how much food you're going to be eating, then that's going to tax your willpower, and that's going to be willpower that you take away from that significant other in your life that you love so much. Or maybe your kids. Now you can't deal with them because you're so busy dealing with trying to fight your own biology and your own set point weight. So what we need to do in that case, and this is going to be a short video, I'll talk about more about a strategy on how we can use this tomorrow. What we need to do is we need to engage in something in Bearvolution. We call it set point weight. Let me change colors for this. Therapy. Exact same kind of therapy as someone who has a fear of needles. If someone came into my office as a client and they said, Steve, I have a fear of needles, can you help me get over my fear of needles? What we don't do is we just give them a really happy life where they never have to face their fear of needles. No, they need to face the trauma of the needle. What we do is we do it incrementally. So what does that look like? It might look like on day one, they'll come into my office, they'll sit at my desk, and I'll take out a needle from my desk and I'll just put it on the desk, and I'll tell them, George, that needle's just going to stay there for 10 seconds and it's going right back in. Is that okay? And he says, okay, all right. And he deals with it. The needle stays there for 10 seconds and then I put it back beside the desk. And that's it. Then we talk about his dog and his family and his girlfriend, his love life, everything else. But that was it. That was the therapy done. And then he comes back the next day or the next week and we do it again a little bit longer. And eventually we go through a series of progressions where eventually I'm stabbing George in the arm with a needle, giving him an injection, and he feels perfectly fine about it. Same thing with your set point weight. You need to gently coax your body into feeling comfortable that these famines that it's so scared of are short, quick, snappy, over, you're back to eating an abundance of food. That's why dieting doesn't work. That's why prolonged fasting doesn't work. Now get me straight, it does work in terms of proving your body right. It says, ha, I knew this was coming. I knew this famine assurance was coming. And if you fast or if you diet longer than what your body thought it was actually expected to do, and you go down to a really slim body weight, guess what? When you start eating again, it's going to adjust your set point weight to be higher, which is why you have a whole bunch of people who not only rebound, they rebound above what they started because you traumatized yourself too much with too intense of a famine. It's the exact same. If George came into my office and I said, okay, George, we're going to get over your fear of needles. Let me just pull out this ginormous needle right now. Give me your arm, George. And I take his arm and I shove this needle into his arm. Do you think he's going to come out any less fearful of needles? No, of course not, right? He's going to be absolutely petrified. In fact, I probably just made his phobia worse. Exact same thing with fat. Get me around the medical community and our culture. It'll come around. It'll maybe take 10 or 15 years. But if you're watching this video, you're about 10, 15 years ahead of the curve, guys. Come in, join Bevolution Positivity. We'll put you on a set point weight therapy program. We'll get you out of that obesity trap that you're in. Let's go.